Hey guys, it's Ryan from Grow, Kill, and Adapt on Refuge Radio. Today I'm going to have my good friend Andre Anderson join us to talk about burnout on Youth Ministry Island. So let's get into it. Andre, I'm glad that you're here with me, man.
My brother.
It's finally we get to join together and hang out here.
Yes.
Hey, I know you. We have shared our heart and our dreams and our visions together. Maybe you could give a little description on what you're up to right now. What's ministry looked like for you in the past?
Man, past ministry is it's a wild topic. If I'm doing fast version, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in the church, Salvation Army Church. I'm ended up in the AG somehow. And so I'm a Rockford Master's Commission graduate. I'm a Bible college graduate. And I've been doing ministry all over the country for years. I was doing school assemblies, speaking to over 1 million students in however many years I've been doing this thing for a long time, and moving a lot, being a part of a lot of different ministries. When I was in Bible college, I asked the Lord to use me in a capacity where he could put me into a place, help me, use me to be able to bring change to an area and to a church, and then move me on. And he's been faithful to do so. Sometimes I moved on willingly. Sometimes I've been moved on. I have resigned. That's what they call it now. They call it that you resign whenever I really didn't resign. And I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth today.
Yeah, no, we love that, man. You know how we feel.
I'm gonna tell the truth. And so I've been in a lot of different ministry positions and a lot of different things. But youth ministry is my deal. I love youth ministry. I love youth pastors. I love resourcing youth pastors and connecting with a lot of different youth pastors all over the country, because it's hard to be a youth pastor out here in these streets. And so
Absolutely.
We all need people.
Yeah. So what's your official title? I know that you got some consulting things that are going on too. What are you up to today?
My official title is Director of Promotions and Marketing for the Gate Leadership College. That's my official title. And that's that. Right now I'm operating as, we'll call it an operations pastor. I'm doing that. But I also do youth pastor coaching, through my website. I'm a wholesale jeweler, because why not? So I got diamonds. If you need diamonds, Ryan,
I'm married, bro.
No.
I gotta get the earrings.
I got pearls too. If you need pearls, you need your wife to look like a queen, I'll hook you up, man. Praise God. That's what I'm here for.
We always want to appreciate the hustle, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hey, today we're diving into what it looks like when you get to the point in ministry where you're about to burn out, or you feel like an island. You're just kind of trapped. And when I hear those phrases, or when I hear youth ministry island, a lot of times it feels like seclusion and just loneliness, right? I feel like you're Tom Hanks with Wilson on the island doing nothing, right? And I want to kind of get your opinion first and foremost. Like, what are some of the reasons why we run into burnout?
Man, I'll start out by saying this, because I watch a lot of people talk about burnout, and the way they come at people who feel burnout is they kind of attack, and they want to attack people. And so I want to say, like, look, burnout is real. That's something that you feel. And there are a lot of different reasons for it. But if that's you, like, I will not attack you. So you know, like, we're not here to attack. That's not the heart of Refuge. That's not the heart of me. That's not what we do. We want to be a resource for you, and we want to be able to help you in this time. So let's be honest and real about our feelings, and honest and real about what's going on in our heart and in our spirit. So that's that. So I need to throw that out there, because you have to understand our heart, and we don't want other people to kind of taint what we're about to say. Burnout, it can come from so many different things. It just depends on where you're at, who you are, what your emotional state is. With youth ministry, sometimes being, we don't want to call it a silo, but we end up in a silo, or we end up the low people on a totem pole. We end up being the people who have to run youth ministry, but then we have to do this and we have to do that. And we can find ourselves running to the ground by that. We can feel like our families and our time aren't honored. We feel like like they don't care. It's, well, the youth pastor will do it, or they will come out and do it. And don't worry, their family will take care of itself. And that type of stuff grates on you. And when you're dealing with that, it's a struggle, and if you've been burned in youth ministry before, or in any type of ministry, when you've been burned, when you've been fired, when you've been told that, when you're let go and people have to come up with reasons why you had to leave, and reasons why you weren't okay. And that stuff swirls around in your mind, it swirls around in your heart, and it damages you and makes you feel less than. And all that together pulls together and makes you struggle. It's hard. And here's the thing: we are directing young people. Like, you have to remember what you do. You are helping this next generation find Jesus and help them understand how to follow Jesus. Therefore, you are a target. You are. Like, your family's a target. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. Guess what? You're under attack. I'm not going to attack somebody who isn't a threat. If I'm the enemy, I'm not attacking you if you're not a threat. But if you're a threat, I'm coming after you. You, youth pastor, youth minister, youth volunteer, you're a threat. And so you're being attacked. Absolutely. So you have to recognize that and know that, hey, that might play a little bit into it. Right? We don't want to say, oh, there's a demon behind every corner. But hey, guess what? There is an enemy in our demons, fam. Yep. So that could play a little bit into it.
For sure. Yeah, man. Like, I think that you hit a nail on the head. A lot of times when we hear people talk about burnout, it is such a dirty word in ministry. And the reality is, we all need to find moments of refreshing. And if you're not getting that, you are in the desert starving for a drink. You're so desperate for some refreshment. And to then come into a podcast and then get beat up is not helpful, versus saying, hey, listen, there are seasons in my life in ministry where I have walked in the desert, in the burnout phase, all of those places. And this is not just, hey, we're going to come and tell you all the tips and tricks that are going to fix everything. That we realize that there is a spiritual side of this, the emotional side of this, and the actual physical things that happen with us too. So I really do appreciate, just highlighting the fact that we're here to help. And if there's any questions, like, this is not a subject that a lot of people want to talk about, and we're cool with it. We're cool with just addressing the way that we can. So I know for me personally, I have gone through phases, like I said, that I have gone through burnout, and it has taken a toll on all three of those parts, that mental side, the physical side, even in my spiritual side. And what I'm looking for today is just to kind of talk about things that we have walked through, or places that we have found strength in all three of those places. So let's address spiritual first. I've had some great spiritual mentors in my life that I have actually had to go and ask. And I think that a lot of times when we get to mentorship, we often wonder where our mentor is. Sometimes it just takes us being bold and asking somebody to say, hey, I need help, man. Like, I need to step in. What other places, Andre, do you find that you can get spiritual refreshment, that drink, during this time of burnout?
I have homies. You have to have people who are the realist and who you can call up and say, hey, I'm not okay. I surround myself with people like that. I surround myself with people that I can say the wildest stuff to, that I can be the realist with, and it's going to be okay. Like, if I'm struggling with something heavy, I'm not going to the most judgmental person in the room. I'm just not. I'm in a Marco Polo. I Marco Polo my friend Chris Stewart Almost every day. We're tight. We're family. If something's going on in my life, he knows about it. If I'm feeling some type of way, he knows about it. If he's feeling some type of way, I know about it. We go back and forth constantly. I can call Ryan Leak right now and be like, hey, Ryan, here's what's going on in my life. I need some help. Here's what's going on. I'm struggling. You know, like you have to have that. And you have to know, like you have to have that support system there. If you don't have it, then you end up bottling everything up. Like we're real good at, man, listen, look, the church world is real good at making you feel bad for having a struggle or having something going on in your life or feeling some type of way. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't be going through that. You just like, look, like you have to have people in your life that are like solid, that are rock. Did that answer the question, Ryan? Because I'm like, I started to think back. I'm like, hold on, did I go into a different realm than what I was supposed to?
It's good, man. Like actually, the one thing that rung true with me is that one anothering side, right? So often we're okay to celebrate somebody else's praises, somebody else's births or birthdays or anniversaries and all these other things, and like, and not to say that those aren't those are superficial, but we forget the point that part of one anothering is carrying each other's burdens, right? And I think that that's something that for me, I wouldn't say that every person I know would step in and carry my burden, nor am I going to ask them to carry my burden. I have those close knit believers that I can walk through and say, hey, I'm not okay, man. Like I need somebody here. I need somebody to step in. And it doesn't have to be the wisest sage ever or the smartest person, just somebody that's willing to listen and say, hey, listen, man, like this sucks. And I'm going to pray with you, and not I'm going to pray for you, or hey, what can I do for you? Because a lot of times that kind of like pushes that back on my weight to try to figure out what they can do for me. Instead, saying, you know what? Sometimes our life sucks, and we have to sit in this. Our ministry is not doing what we wanted to do. Our vision is not aligned with where we want to be, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure in other places, and I'm losing grip of my family, or I'm losing grip of my ministry, or I'm losing grip of even reality, and just instead walking backwards and saying, who is my grounding source? You know, and let's make sure that our foundations are the same. Let's make sure that there's biblical principle behind the same foundation, so they can call me out when I'm acting crazy. You know, so that's good, man. Like I really feel like oftentimes we look for the wisest person to be our mentor when it could be the guy just walking on the same steps as us.
Right. Well, I call it, you need a cussing friend. You know, you need a friend that you can call and cuss.
Yeah.
You know, who's not going to judge you for it, you know, because that's the realest person, you know, when you can call and say, I'm messed up right now, you know, and you can say every word that you truly want to say and then be like, cool, what are we going to do now? Yeah. You know, and help you battle through it. Like that's a thing, you know, and then it goes further because you have to take care of you. You know, you have to take care of your family. You have to protect. You don't go into battle without healing yourself from the last one. You know, you tend to the wounds and then you move on. Yes. And so you have to have those moments where you're focused on yourself and you're making sure that you are in fact okay. It's crazy that we sing that song, This Is How I Fight My Battles, but we don't worship outside of a worship service. Like, is that really how you fight your battles? Is that it? Because you sing the song a lot and you keep saying the same thing. You don't even sing the verses of the song. You act like the verses of the song don't even exist. You just sing, This Is How I Fight My Battles, but you don't worship. Yeah. You know, I came in today, I was telling Ryan before this started, you know, I had worship on and I was just worshiping to set myself up for today. You know, I play worship in my home. When we go to bed, I put it on and it plays all night through my Apple TV because I want a constant flow of worship. I want a constant flow in my life because I need that. And that's refreshing to me. And that helps me center myself. You know, and Ryan, I've struggled, man. You know, when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, it was devastating to me. It was devastating. I look like him. I sound like him. You know, I laugh like him. I have a lot of the same issues that he did. But like when I'm sitting here looking at a man that looks like me getting a trait, and you know he's going to die, and I'm thinking if he dies, he goes to hell. This is terrible. And then I got hit with a $14,000 debt to the IRS that you can't run from because it's the stinking IRS. And I moved in with my in-laws, and I'm working at a restaurant in downtown Chicago, and I'm a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Like I'm a pastor. I'm a youth pastor. I'm supposed to be better. I'm supposed to be training people. I'm supposed to be helping people, and I'm supposed to be bringing people to Jesus. And I'm serving chicken in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, and every job that I go to get is not hiring me. And then I find out that my old senior pastor was calling places that I had worked and trying to get me fired. And, you know, and people were calling him saying, hey, should we hire him? And he was like, no, it's the worst decision you would ever make. Like finding that stuff out, I was down.
Yeah.
Like, and so you get that way because of what's going on. And there was a moment where I was on the train to downtown Chicago on the Marks bus, sitting on top of it and on his cart in the train. And this guy walks in with 2 Starbucks drinks. He had 2 Starbucks drinks. And I was on Facebook the day before, and I was like, what's my new drink? What should I start drinking at Starbucks? And everybody was like, vanilla latte, vanilla latte. And I was like, oh, word? Vanilla lattes are the jam? They said yes. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to start drinking vanilla lattes. So I get on the train. This guy turns around and says, do you have coffee? And I said, no. And he said, here. And he gave me a venti cup. He had a grande cup. He gave me the venti. And I'm like, what is this? He said, well, they made the wrong drink. They told me to give it to somebody, so I'm choosing to give it to you. I said, what is it? He said, a vanilla latte. And he turned around, and I heard God speak to me and say, I know where you live. And it messed me up. And I start bawling on this train. All that to say, my dad was dying. I was struggling. I was in this thing of feeling like I was worthless and like I didn't have anything, but God knew where I lived. Yeah. And God brought me a Starbucks drink. Like if you're in this moment and you're in this struggle, God sees you. He sees you. He knows where you're at. He knows what's going on. So trust that you will be taken care of. Don't let your mind throw you off. Don't let what's happening around you throw you off. You stop, you center, you get some worship, and you focus on what you need to do, and you plan it out so that you can do what God has called you to do. Because again, you are under attack. You are under fire because we are bringing young people to Jesus and helping them follow Jesus for the rest of their lives. And this is going to affect generations. And if you think that you're just going to escape through this and it's going to be okay, it's not. So we need to get the right type of help. We need to worship. We need to have the right people around us that can help us.
Absolutely. No, man, that's good. I love having natural flowing conversations. I love, you know, just your ability to share your heart. You know, one of the things, your story is super powerful. And that's one thing that I look at is, you know, I was doing some research on this subject, trying to make sure that I'm on the ball. I know what I've struggled through. I know what the people that have been around me struggled through. I know where there was breaking moments in ministry. I remember right before I started Refuge, I called Micah and I said, listen, if God doesn't give me something by the end of March, I'm out of here, man. Like, this is not for me. I'm not doing this anymore. I was obedient. God, you're not blessing me. I'm done, man. You know, like, and it's not that I was done with what God called me to do. I felt like there was a burnout of just trying to listen and not find that direction, right? So I went and did a little research, went and looked back at some stuff that Barna put out and a whole bunch of other things. And some of the crazy stuff that I found out was that like over 80% of pastors don't feel like they're being successful in their ministry, right? You have 83% of them at one point in time were ready to throw in the towel, whether it was because of church politics or struggles that they had in their personal life or whatever, moral failures, whatever it might be. There was a moment where they were ready to throw in the towel, right? And I think that when you were talking about your story where, you're serving, and then you're called to be a leader, and you're a youth pastor in the church. Like, there's a moment where you're dealing with, it might not be high level, but there's a depression aspect that just lays on your heart and then says, well, I'm not supposed to be this, right? I'm supposed to be this fearless leader that is going to carry the charge for everybody to walk through. And I would say that we're in the astonishingly, we're in the majority of people that have sat in that place in ministry. And so I don't want to miss this, that there are personal things that happen in our lives, whether it's our family stuff, whether it's our personal walk, things that we struggle with, that really do take away from our ministry. And it's okay to focus on those, to fix those. Right? It's okay to take that moment away from where you're at. I always think about the welling up, right? So there's this moment of welling up before a blessing happens. If you're a mover and you don't sit still, you're going to miss the welling up. You're going to miss it. And mentally, I've seen some cool ministries that have done some things like forced sabbaticals. Like, they love that person. They know they're burning out. It's time for them to take a break, and giving them the option to go get welled up again for the next season. I wish that we celebrated that more. I wish that we had found ways to celebrate giving our leaders the moment. I had a conviction in my own life that I was preparing sermons every week for kids, but my personal walk with Christ was suffering because I was spending all my emotional energy on preparing for what the kids needed versus where I was in my life and what I needed. Let me ask you this. There's obviously that mental side, the spiritual side, which I believe obviously is where we find this like huge gap in our ministries, especially if we're feeling that burnout. What about the physical side, man? Like, what can we do to try to help us combat some of this stress wherever we sit in ministry at that point in time?
Man, it's wild. For me, even in this season, I'm realizing that my eating is way off. And it's affected me to the point, like, my stomach is all jacked up. So, I know right now I need to go and get some amoxicillin because I know I have bleeding ulcers in my stomach. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. So I can't eat certain things because it messes me up. We have to switch around some of our habits just to make sure that we're okay, because our bodies aren't feeling well because we're not taking care of ourselves, and don't get it twisted. I'm not one of those people who's like, no offense to them, but it's like, hey, yo, come and join my group. I'm not a part of any type of like thing of like trying to get you to lose weight. Like, I'm not on that. But I do believe that what we eat can affect how we feel. And so if you can shift some of that stuff, if you get active, you need to go on walks. You need to just feel strong, get strong, do some push-ups, man.
Yeah, do some push-ups.
Yeah, do some push-ups, man. Do something that, just makes you feel better, makes it so that you can breathe better, so that you have better life stamina. It's hard. I remember I preached in Gillette, Wyoming, which is a certain number, blah, 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 above sea level. It doesn't look like a mountain, but it's above sea level. And so the air is way thinner. Well, I'm a 250-pound, 6'3" black man from the East Coast who talks real fast and doesn't take deep breaths. And the oxygen is low. I was preaching and almost passed out while preaching. And I'm like, man, I should probably lose some weight. Like, granted, the air was a factor there, but man, if I lost some of this weight, I'd feel a lot better. You feel better when you're living better. And so we just have to make those decisions. The problem is our normal. We always go back to our default. We always go back to the easiest thing. The easiest thing right now is to go and get fast food. it's the easiest thing, especially, in the season that we're living in at the time of this filming.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to do is just run through a drive-through real quick, and not pay attention to what we're consuming, and not doing some push-ups.
Yeah.
But we have to do something to feel, a little bit better. My wife is at home all day homeschooling kids. And when I get home, she says, we're going on a walk right now. We're going to go ride our bikes right now. We're going to go do this. It's imperative to do something physically that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Drink more water, do some push-ups, at least do some push-ups and drink some water.
Yeah. It's funny because what I've found, especially during, for me personally, during like times of struggles or high stress, is that I've always leaned on food as a coping mechanism, right? Like, and I'm just being like super straightforward with all of you guys. Like, and I roll out of youth group at 9:00 and the night sucked, and I passed Taco Bell and McDonald's and everywhere else on the way home. And I'm already feeling bad about what happened throughout the night, or I'm feeling like my vision isn't being felt, or my leaders didn't show up that night, or whatever else is going on that night that's just causing tons of emotional reaction. My first reaction isn't to go jump on a treadmill, man. It's to pull through that Burger King and pick up a Whopper and scarf that thing down so I can go sit on my couch because I'm already exhausted, and I'm emotionally exhausted, and so. I would think, there's been times in my life, this has been, I could say that I probably lost a Cadillac's worth of weight in my whole life, up and down, but there are seasons in my life where it becomes such a focal point that I'm doing a great job and I'm killing it, right? And then there are other times where I'm not conscientious about that because I've allowed my mind or my mental health, or wherever I'm struggling, to dictate all facets of my life, right? And so what I would challenge all of us with, and especially, like, I'm preaching to myself too, man, like that during those seasons, for anything to start working, is you got to build those habits, small stuff. Like you said, drink more water, go for a walk. Last week my wife and I went a hike around what they call a lake around here. I grew up near the Finger Lakes, so these are not lakes, these are just babies. But we did a hike around it, and when I was done, I felt accomplished, man. Like, I felt like I had done something. And because ministry is not always so tangible, you can't see it right away, set some tangible physical things that you can do, right? Give yourself, mow your lawn, man. Like, to me, that makes me feel so good, right? I get to see my lawn. I see from the beginning to the end what the difference is when we're done. And physically, I think that if we can start focusing on that tangible aspect, you will be able to find some way out. There's a lot of like psychological sides of why we need to be physically active. And if we're already in a mental state where we're struggling, look for something that's going to help you feel like you tangibly did something at the end of the day.
Right.
So,
when we preach on Wednesdays, we'll normally eat a dinner, and then we'll preach, and then we'll eat another dinner.
Yep.
And that second dinner is never good.
Yeah. Fried zucchini sticks.
So I'm like, oh man, let's go and get a Whopper and some French fries real quick. Let's go and get like Taco Bell tacos. I'm not allowed to eat Taco Bell. My wife is Mexican. But,
you will be ostracized from the family.
It's like, we just have to think about that stuff and realize what it's doing to us.
Yeah.
It's just not, and then if you want to jump into one of those things, there's a lot of people on your Facebook right now that'll slide up in your DMs and tell you about how you can start eating shakes and taking bars so you can lose weight. They love that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Everybody wants to sell you something.
Like, hey, what's up? You trying to lose weight?
You should be.
Like, I love when people slide up in my DMs talking about, hey man, you looking a little thick. Like, what? Maybe I like to be thick. Get out of my business.
I'm comfortable. Hey, we're going to move. First off, thank you for your input on this stuff. But let me ask you this. Every time we have somebody on, we ask them what tools have they either built themselves or tools that they've had seen from other youth ministries that have been incredibly effective on helping reach kids, change the way that they do ministry, whatever it might be. But what tool can you suggest to anybody that's listening out there that might be helpful to them?
Man, let's see. One thing that I've done that I've helped other pastors with is writing out sermons. I have a system for writing out sermons that normally we write out probably the outlines for about 6 months in about 45 minutes, which really helps out just because it's good to get ahead of the game and know what you're going to do and know what you're getting into. So I like doing stuff like that, but people can contact me directly to help walk them through that.
Yeah,
I love it.
What's an email they can reach you at?
Me at andreanderson.com.
There you go.
Me at andreanderson.com. Man, and I love to walk people through that. If people need coaching, if people need help, if you need a cussing friend, it can be me. I'm totally okay with that. I don't care what you say. I'm a dead zone. So you say it, I forget it. That's just where I'm at. What else do I like? I like the Refuge Youth Network stuff, but that's
shameless plug for us. Here we go. Go to Refuge Resources, pick up our free stuff.
Yeah,
we create it because we love you.
Pick up all that stuff. Free. I think Youth America Resource just switched over to Free Church Media. Mm-hmm. And so they put out some pretty good stuff. That is it just helps you wrap your head around some different type of media stuff that you can use in your youth ministry so that you're not worried about it. And honestly, like if you want to look like a G, we just got an Envato account. And that Envato is amazing. It's basically, you can download, it's like $20 a month and you can download all these different templates, video templates for anything and just fill them in. If you're using Premiere, if you're using After Effects, if you use Final Cut, if you need soundtracks, it has all that included in it. And so we use it now as a church and as a youth ministry to be able to design some pretty great little intros for things, great logo reveals, great service buffers and bumpers. So that's the type of stuff that I like.
That's great, man. Like that's definitely something that we're always in the field of trying to figure out how to put something together that is engaging and draws people in. And it's nice to have the resources to be able to do that. Well, again, I just want to thank you, Andre, for hanging out with us today. Remember, everyone, stay in your lane and God loves you.